That's Retro Fandango. That's Retro Fandango. When it's Android over iPhone, and you can keep your stupid amiibo and always bashing on Nintendo. Well, that's Retro Fandango. That's Retro Fandango. Thanks, Retro Fandango. Wow.
Hello. Oh, let me remove that. All right. Welcome to Retro Fandango, episode number 236. We're a little bit late. A little past our start time. I see there's already a smear campaign happening in the comment section. I will not even acknowledge those comments.
Well, what are these people saying?
Outrageous, wrong things. It's January 5th all over again. There's an insurrection happening.
Well, we are getting to election time. You gotta expect these things.
You Americans and your elections every 4 years. Oh my goodness. I don't know how you deal with it. It's too much. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about, I don't know. What do you want to talk about?
Oh, I got plenty. I have many items to hold in front of the camera. It's been what, 3 weeks since we did this?
Has been. Oh, look at Sauce says 14 minutes late. That's Retro Fandango. You guys are you guys are on the same wavelength, man, because Richard pretty much said the same thing before I hit go live. So there you go.
I know what the fans want.
LeBrain trained. Mike LeBrain wants us to talk about physical media. We have.
Talk about Star Trek.
I got physical media here. So, well, I'll just start off. I had coming off the Easter weekend. I had a trip to Ottawa, Canada, our capital. Ooh. And I went to go visit my sister, who I was supposed to visit at Christmas time, but I was very ill, was not feeling well. So we were planning on doing a trip to Deep River, Ontario, sometime around now. And it's like, well, Easter's so early this year. Why not do the whole Easter weekend thing? So it turns out that they were going to see the Ottawa Senators play. So we tagged along.
All right, hang on.
What?
I'm gonna attempt to guess as to what that is.
What the Ottawa Senators are?
I know it's a sports team.
This won't be very difficult for you.
Well, the obvious one is to say hockey, but could it also be a baseball team?
No, you were right the first time.
It was hockey. Okay.
First of all, it's March in Canada. There's not much baseball going on in March in Canada. It was the hockey team. And let me tell you, people are upset about the Ottawa Senators here. I had no dog in the race. I didn't really care. They were playing against the Chicago Blackhawks. And let me tell you, I've always heard how the Senators are always struggling as a team to get attendance, to get people there. There was a rumor that Ryan Reynolds was going to buy that team for a while. I don't know if that's happening. And the owner has problems. There's also their stadium is not technically in Ottawa. It's in a subdivision of Ottawa, Canada, which I don't know.
Canada,
which it irks some people because it's not like downtown, so you can't do the transit thing and all that stuff. But other people are like, well, it's great because you could park there. But let me tell you, the parking after the game to get out of there was at least a half an hour. It was insane. And it's not, it's around 20,000 people at the arena. It's not like football 100,000, so it should be manageable to get 20,000 people out of a stadium and back onto the road, considering there's not much around there. But anyways, I went to the hockey game. I enjoyed myself. It was my second NHL game. And it was all right. So it was my mom who bought the tickets. She bought everyone tickets. This was our early birthday / Christmas gift. et cetera, et cetera. So we were indebted to her for the rest of the year buying tickets. But when she bought the tickets, like when she would get me to buy tickets for the Blue Jay games, she would always insist that we sit on the lower level, on the lower like 100 level. She's not big on nosebleeds at all. But these tickets that she bought they were on the high, like the big level. Not really nosebleeds, but they were up high, and she refused to sit there. She got there. She's like, "No, I'm not sitting there."
Huh.
So she went and she got my sister to go and ask for some additional seating. So she actually sat where like people who have disabilities would sit. And
Really?
technically she did have a disability, a fear of heights. So they allowed her to sit there. So they weren't like you weren't right on the ice. You weren't like right next to the rink or anything like that. But they were good enough seats. They were fine. The only thing
So wait
is,
a minute. Who is the big hockey fan? If it was
I think
just your sisters more into it?
no, they my mom I guess wanted to take the my niece and nephew to a hockey game.
Okay.
She wants to take them to a baseball game, but my sister insists that they're not old enough for that yet because it's a big trip down to Toronto and it's much more um of a to do, I guess, to get them to Toronto, considering Ottawa is much closer and it'd be it's more feasible. So just to take them to a big, NHL hockey game. So
Right. More for the experience.
yeah, and they had fun. They enjoyed it. The only thing is, like, they give these fans, they wear these like really tall Ottawa Senators. Like it's mostly for kids. Like mostly the kids wear these things. So you sit down and it's like, oh, there's a kid in front of me. No problem. I could see over a kid, no problem. But then they put these stupid hats on. They're big foam hats. And they point, it's like an Ottawa Senator logo, and it points up like this. And it's okay when they're looking forward.
It's like a
But
witch's hat.
when dad or something talks to them, it's like this big thing that just covers the whole, so you can't see anything. It's like having a person with a giant melon in front of your head. And I'm like, who are the people that came up with this idea? This is not, they shouldn't be
Right,
selling
right.
this at the stadium. This is not a
Or just
good
put a
thing.
big hole in it or something.
It just it just blocks everything. You can't see anything. So you just look at the person beside you like, well, I gotta wait for this kid to look for it, because you can't be a jerk and say, hey kid, watch the ice. This isn't 1970 where you can just bully
Just knock it
everyone.
off. Just like pretend you're cheering or
Well,
something.
that's what would happen. That's what would
Smack
happen.
the
Like,
thing off.
can you imagine you were at like Yankee Stadium, a kid in Yankee Stadium in 1973, and you got a big thing on your head? Like the guy behind you would just take it and throw it away. He'd throw get
Exactly.
that off of here, get that out of here. I paid my $250 to watch the Yankees. You're not putting that stupid hat on.
It kind of reminds me of I don't know if anybody remembers this, but the Sega Saturn had a promotional campaign called Theater of the Mind, and it would be like somebody, and then the camera would shoot into their eyeball, and so
Okay.
then you would be in a movie theater, and inside the movie theater, which was inside the eye, it would be filled with rods and cones, and they had guys wearing the big pointy hats to
No,
the cone.
I don't recall that.
I had a promotional video, like a VHS that they sent out, and it would just be weird, trippy Sega Saturn commercials.
Yeah. Yeah, Sega had some wild commercials in the 90s. They were all trying to both Nintendo and Sega were always trying to out weird each other, I think.
Hmm.
Trying to be the hip, cool, gotta be extreme.
It was extremely 90s. I've got some extremely 90s things to talk about.
Yeah.
Well,
Did we
one extremely 90s.
did we just want to get into it, or you got something else to talk about? Or
I could talk about old man things first.
yeah.
Started that was it last week or so. I had about a week of bizarre chest pains. Here's your
Uh-oh.
middle-aged man report.
That's not good.
Uh, and yeah, it was like I don't know. It's getting warm now, so I got to start doing the yard work again,
Mm.
cutting grass and things like that. So I don't know. I just over the past week, I was feeling these weird chest pains, and it was the stuff that was going on the left side, a little tingle to the left arm. That's bad news. I was like, oh, what's going on with this? I wait a few days, like, it's still kind of there. It's not really severe, but it's persistent.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all right, time to go to the doctor. Let's get this checked out. Go to the doctor, explain everything to him. He's like, I don't know if it's anything really heart related, but we'll check you out. Go lay down. They do the EKG, put the little suction cups all over you.
Mm-hmm.
And then I didn't know they did this for an EKG. They put things on your wrists and your ankles too. They look like little like laundry clips. They just put them on you.
Well, it must be only in Japan. I
I
didn't
don't
have
know.
that. Okay.
So I'm laying there, and they running the machine and everything. They're like, okay, you're good. Go wait. I'll go see the doctor in a bit. I go back, and he says it's almost normal. Those were his words. Almost normal. I'm like, oh, what do you mean almost? He's like, well, you got like a spike in a valley for your EKG. It kind of goes up, and it goes down, it goes up, it goes down, and then it repeats. He said your pattern's fine. There's no problem. Your pattern's normal. Everything looks good. You're just missing one of those little peaks. What do you mean I'm missing a peak? He's like, well, it's there, but it's like it's a little peak. It should be a little bit higher. It's like, is that a bad thing? Nah. Just you're just missing a peak. Well,
Is he one of those Oppenheimer scientists that were like, yeah, the atmosphere might burn up, but we should set off this bomb anyways? Why not?
probably
So you're fine? Is that what you're saying?
up. That's what he's saying. I don't know. Um, that's what he's saying. So I don't know, he gave me some medicine. He said what I'm experiencing is probably there's like a nerve cluster that goes from the back and kind of wraps around your left side.
Okay.
So I might be having some sort of stimulus to that nerve. He says, it's not my heart. It's just one of those things. So he gave
Hmm.
me some medicine. I took it, and most most of the time since then it's been okay. Today I'm feeling it a little bit, so I don't know. Maybe because it's early. I didn't sleep very well last night. It could just
I
be one of those. Well, you're old now.
yeah
That's just
yeah
gonna be that way.
yeah. Well, my only recommendation would be to go see a doctor, but you already did that. So
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. I know, like I said, no matter what I do, like if I go do yard work and stuff like that, walk up and down the hill, it doesn't seem to aggravate it. It's
Mm.
just there.
Mike says he rarely sleeps well, so I guess you're in
Yeah.
with
Well, I
good
kind of
company.
get that too.
Yeah, I've
The
been
other night
sleep.
I woke up at like 4 in the morning, just
Yeah,
wide awake for a bit. Eh, what are you gonna do?
I've been sleeping okay lately because Sarah gets up and leaves at some point in the middle of the night.
Oh,
She just gets up and leaves. I'm just there by myself. I said to her, I think, because she goes and she sleeps in the spare room. And I started asking her, like, is there like a young Sam Elliott in that room hiding somewhere or something like that? Because you seem to spend a lot of time in there. And then sometimes she'll say it's because I'm snoring. And then other times I think she's gone.
I just had enough.
She's had enough. It's
Just had enough.
it's so I guess I just better put up and shut up, right? It's either this or divorce. So I better
I don't know. She's sending you some kind of message.
yeah, I think so. Oh. All right.
Snow snores.
Snow snores. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes the snoring's okay. Sometimes, yeah. Yeah. Is it so? It's spring there now. You got like full on spring, or
It's springish. We're getting a lot of rain lately, which is terrible because that just it's getting warm, lots of water, so it'll be a couple of days where I can't do any yard work, and then suddenly it's totally
yeah,
overgrown. I got to go out there and do everything.
it's not.
Also, the season for digging up bamboo.
Yeah, it's not quite spring here yet. It keeps shifting back and forth. It'll be like +14 one day, and then next day -2 and snow. Like, it just doesn't have Like today was like minus something, -1 or something like that. And tomorrow's supposed to be +9 and sunny. So can't figure out the weather at this time of year. Oh, Sauce has the sleep apnea. You
Oh
got to
my
get one of
goodness.
them
Everybody seems to have
machines.
that now.
Got to get one of them machines. Well, I have a tree in my backyard that needs to come down, and it's like kind of wrapped around my shed. That's the real big reason why it needs to come down, because those trees will damage your roof and everything if you just let it grow. And I'm kind of surprised the previous owners, they were so meticulous with everything that they just allowed that tree to blossom as high as it has. So I made plans this week to go and take it down tomorrow, but then I went back there and it was still a bit wet. Like it's just going to be too mucky to take it down.
Hmm.
And plus, my back has been hurting me. Talk about old man's club.
Hmm.
But I've been using the Dr. Hose. Do you remember that Dr. Hose?
Dr. Hose. What
Yeah,
is that?
yeah. You don't know Dr. Hose?
Dr. Ho.
So there,
I don't know.
there would be infomercials on in the evening. This device called Dr. Hose, and it's basically like these pads that you put on your skin over wherever the muscle is hurting you, and you hook it up with wires to this little machine, and it sends pulses to these pads, and it basically like sends pulses down into the muscle, and it's basically like a massage thing. Like it massages. So Sarah, it was last year when I was doing the trucking thing. One of the guys at the school was having back problems, and a woman brought it in. She was having menstrual cramps, and she says, "I use this for my menstrual cramps. Try this on your back." And I was like, "Does it work?" And he's like, "Yeah, it does. It actually works." Because I always thought it was just junk science. I mean, there was no there are outlets that you could buy this thing at, but it just had that whole late night infomercial thing. Like Dr. Ho would
Right,
come on
as
these
seen on
infomercials,
TV.
right? And he would do like a whole half hour, and it's just like, does that thing really work? Who
It
knows?
sounded like an infomercial when you said it, but I
Yeah.
pictured it more like you go to the doctor and the doctor says, I know what you need. Then the doctor's hose comes out.
No, it's not that good. It works, but not that well. But so Sarah was having some menstrual problems, so I was like, hey, maybe we should try getting one of these Dr. Hose things. So we used our points, our what are those called?
Canadian Tire points?
No, it wasn't Canadian Tire. It was for Shoppers Drug Mart. I think they're all PC points now, President's Choice points or something. Anyways, they had one on sale at Shoppers, but it was only through online. You couldn't buy it directly in the store, only online. So it was only the cheaper. There's more expensive ones, but we got the cheaper $150 one, and I think we got it for like we got $30 off it or something like that. Anyways, tried this thing, and Sarah's like, "Yeah, it works. It works really well." It kind of just takes her mind off of the cramps kind of thing. I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
well, so she's anytime she has any problems, she's been using it. So last weekend, Easter weekend, not only did we see a hockey game, but we went to a hockey game. We went to two museums. Went to the Nature Museum, because it's Ottawa's the capital of Canada, so they all have all sorts of museums. Went to Nature
Mhm.
Museum. Went to the Aviation Museum, which was really interesting because Canada played a huge role in World War II, and a big part was all the aviation that we manufactured here and sent to the Allied forces. So they had all sorts of stuff there. They had like planes that were shot down in France, and they were so proud that like a Canadian, that might have been like a British or American pilot, but it was a plane that was manufactured in Canada that shot it down. They're like they were so like the pilots would actually like, just like now when you buy a car, like, where's this car made? It's made in Japan. Is it Korean? Is it Chinese? Is it Mexico? Where is this? And traditionally the cars that are made in Japan or the cars that are actually made in manufactured in the US are better. And So they would look at the planes, and if the plane was manufactured in Canada, that was like a commodity. So they were so proud that these planes would shoot like would shoot down a Nazi or a Luftwaffe aircraft, that they would actually go get the Luftwaffe aircraft, put it back together, and send it to Canada as a trophy, like a thank you for.
Really?
Yeah. So they had like bombed out. I wish I could have spent more time there. We were there with the 10-year-old and the 8-year-old, so they just kind of, like, my sister came up to me. I saw like
What's
maybe
this? What's this junk?
I saw like maybe 1/3 of the museum, because they ran around the entire place like 3 times, and I was still on the, they got the MASH helicopter here, guys. Isn't that exciting? They're like,
Oh,
I imagine you're injured and they're putting you on the side of that skid and then flying up in the air, and they're like, yeah, can we go now? So, anyways, I thought that was great. So we went to there, and then we went to see a movie. The kids wanted to see Frozen Empire, the new Ghostbusters movie. And they wanted to go see a Ghostbusters movie with Uncle Kevin, because when they come here, they see all my Ghostbusters stuff and like, oh, we go see it. But my sister was like, the 10-year-old's fine. But the 8-year-old, she sees a movie like that, and she has like, she takes things to heart. She gets like really upset about things, not just monsters and that, but if there's any sort of character that might have passed away. Like, for instance, like she showed the 8-year-old the first 3 Star Wars films. They were fine. And she showed them the 2 prequels, and she was fine. She didn't want to show her the 3rd prequel because of the whole killing Jedi children thing. So she skipped that one.
They called them younglings.
Whatever. Like, I care.
That way you don't have to say murdered children.
Star Wars is too stupid to get the vernacular. Like, who cares? They're the thing. So then she showed her. So she skipped that one and went to the first new one with the old, like, everybody's old except for the new people who are young.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever series that's called. The one where they just redid
the Disney ones.
Yeah, where they just redid the New Hope for like the 3rd time. Anyways, she showed her that one. Spoiler alert, if you know which movie I'm talking about and you haven't watched it yet. But when Han Solo died, it apparently took her like 3 days to get over it. So my sister's like, yeah, we're not going to see Ghostbusters. So we went to see Kung Fu Panda Part 4.
Nobody died in that one?
No. Do you want me to tell you? I mean, you want me to spoil that for you? I don't even think I'm allowed to say who's in it. That might be a spoiler, right? That movie's still in theaters.
I didn't know the Ghostbusters thing was out. I was spoiler for me. I was actually at the movies not too long ago, and in the lobby they were playing a trailer for that new Ghostbusters thing. I had no idea the original Ghostbusters were back to do this stuff again. I thought they had the one and done with that last one.
Yeah.
Now they're just major parts of the film.
Yeah.
They're like 87 years old.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I mean, think about it. These movies, they cost so much money. They have to have mass appeal. They're too afraid to just rely on new people in a new story. So they got to bring the old people in all the time. So you got the new people there, like podcasts to appeal to the kids. And then you bring in the old geezers that appeals to Gen X. So we'll go see the movie. Right. So everybody will go see the movie. No one will be happy because there's too many characters in the movie. And the story won't make any sense, because that was the beauty of that first movie, is how every character in that movie had their place. Like, they all had a purpose towards that, for that story, that because the story came first. Oh, well, the jokes came first, and then they made an awesome story with it. And then now it's just like anything goes. Just throw everybody on the screen. We'll just figure out what happens. Like, I saw there was one shot where it was the Ghostbusters and they're busting a ghost. And I swear, like, they're all looking up at the ghost and they're busting. And there was 12 people on the screen, all at the same time, all busting the ghost. It's like, this is ridiculous, guys. Come on. Anyways, so I saw Kung Fu Panda 4, which is okay. Even though I haven't seen 1, 2, or 3. I was only a little bit lost, but I kind of followed what was happening.
Called
Uh,
Kung Fu Panda. That's what's happening.
well, and Jack Black, was in it, so I was able to enjoy him. Oh, there's Retro Nonsense. Hey, Duke.
Hey, a Duke.
So yeah, in between all that, there was outdoor sports all the time. Had to go outside and do the sports. They got a basketball net for Easter, so I had to help the brother-in-law put that together. And every second of the day, it was like, let's go out and play the basketball, and let's go play soccer and all that. So by the time I was finished with the weekend, I was hurting pretty good. They got my lower back. Like first, when I was playing soccer, and I'm playing soccer, I'm fine. Everything's good, right? But then when I finished playing soccer, like the sides of my legs hurt. Not the front, not the back, but the sides of my legs hurt. I'm like,
Mhm.
how are there even muscles there? I didn't know there was muscles there, but apparently there are muscles there. That if you play
Were
soccer,
you moving side to side?
I guess so. I guess I was. I don't know. I'm not much of a soccer player, but I know that like if the ball's over there, I gotta move that way to get there. So I guess
When
I
was the
did.
last time you ever had to move side to side?
I,
And
I
then you
guess
do it aggressively.
apparently it was the first time in a very long time. But then the basketball net wasn't too bad because it was set at 7.5 feet high, so I could actually make baskets. That was because 10-year-old, 8-year-old. We put it up to 10 feet, which is regulation height. And I looked at him like, there's no way that's regulation height, is it? And yeah, apparently it's 10 feet up in the air. But anyways, yeah, and the 10-year-old, he's funny too, right? Because he doesn't let you get away with anything. Like we were measuring, so I had these stickers. They give you these stickers, right? And it's adjustable net, and you basically
Right.
measure from the bottom, like on the concrete, tape measure up to the rim, and then it's like, okay, that's 7 feet. You put a sticker on the thing, and then you move up to the next. Okay, that's 8 feet. Put a sticker on the thing. 9 feet, 9.5 feet, whatever, 10 feet. So the 10-year-old's like, yeah, why are you doing this? I'm like, well, when you want to adjust it, you want to know where 7 feet is. So now you'll know exactly where 7 feet is. He's like, well, it won't be exactly 7 feet. I'm like, yeah, I know it's close to 7 feet. Yeah. Anyways, by the end, yeah, I was done. I was tired. My back was hurting. So yeah, I put that Dr. Hose on. I put it right on the knot that was in my lower back. And it was very weird at first, very peculiar feeling. And it hurt, but then it started to get better. It's just like, it's kind of like just like a massage. That's all it really is. It just kind of like vibrates down into the muscle and does this little massage thing. So
Dr. Hose. I'm looking this up and nothing comes up. How do you
it's
spell that?
Dr.space.ho. Dr. Ho.
Oh, Dr. Ho. I thought you said Dr. Hose. Oh, Dr. Ho apostrophe.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Dr. Ho's machine. Yes.
Dr. Ho's humble pie.
No, it wasn't humble
Oh.
pie.
Uh,
This is the section of the show where we wait for Richard to find things on the internet. And we're still waiting.
Ho.
Have you found it yet?
I got there's like a whole product thing. Like there's something that's going around the guy's neck. It looks
Yep.
like some cushioned
yeah, there's a whole bunch of different
roller coaster thing. Okay,
yeah.
So
we just got the cheapest one, just because I wasn't even 100% sure it was legit, like even when people tell you, oh yeah, it works, and it's like, well, they might be just might be just a placebo to them or something like that. But yeah, no.
Well, there's got to be something to it. It's just like an electrical current, but like in Japan, it's really popular to buy these little patches. Like they just heat up.
Mhm.
You stick them on your back, whatever, and then
hot,
gets
icy
the
hot
blood flowing. Yeah, I kind of like that kind of stuff. or they do the acupuncture and lots of little things to get your blood moving.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Well, now you can try Dr. Hose. It comes with
Dr. Hose.
my recommendation.
You gotta do a commercial for that.
This is not a paid advertisement, believe it or not.
Mhm.
All right. So you want to talk about some
Yeah.
physical media?
Oh yeah, because I'm loaded here. I did
Right.
quite a bit of searching and ordering in the past 3 weeks.
Oh, my goodness. All right.
Mhm. You want me to go first?
Sure.
All right. Well, I talked about these before. I have my Chuckies, my
Yes.
little Child's Play guys.
Those are
I had
cool.
the 3 Chuckies, and I was able to track down Tiffany
Mm-hmm.
and Glenn.
There you
Yeah.
go.
The only thing is my Glenn, for some reason, I don't know if you can see this, but he has 2 right hands.
Well, that's weird.
Like his left hand is actually an upside down right hand.
Is it supposed to be like that?
No, I don't believe so. I think 'cause I ordered this online from somebody,
Mm,
and I believe they might have just disassembled and reassembled these figures. Maybe they had a kid playing with this for some reason.
mm.
And I don't know. I just put a hatchet in his hand so you can't tell.
That works.
I was like, should I contact this person and complain? I don't care. If I ever find another one, I might replace him, but he's fine to sit on the shelf. Good news is I found the rest of my DeLoreans.
Nice.
I was missing. This looks like your standard DeLorean, but it comes with this little effect piece that makes it look like it's traveling through time. The more impressive detail is if you look at the side. If this comes through, you'll see these the tubes that go along the back of the vehicle.
They're
They
lit
are
up.
blue.
Yeah.
Yes, as they lit up, meaning the time circuits have been engaged.
Wow.
Yes. I've also got the DeLorean that's kind of frosty after it comes back through time the first time.
Can kind of see it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to see on camera, but
Yeah.
it's that. And then there was another flying DeLorean from part 2 where
Oh,
it's got the little flags on it.
that's after it was
This one
hit by
also
the.
has hit by lightning, and
Yeah.
yeah, this one also has the time circuits engaged.
Right.
So I have the full set, series 1 and 2 now.
Does that one come with a little Joe Flaherty and an envelope in his hand?
No, but one of them did come with a little Marty in the Darth Vader plutonium suit. He's doing the Vulcan salute
Yeah,
there.
I see that.
And one of them came with, where'd he go? Where is he? Where is he? One of them came with a little sign that says Back to the Future, and one of them came with a little Einstein.
That's cool.
Hmm. So I have hopes that they're actually going to make a series 3 because then there's no little Doc Brown to
Mm.
put down here.
I just wanted to
Really
name
awesome.
drop Joe Flaherty. Rest in peace, Joe
Okay.
Flaherty.
I've got one more series of toys to show. I did talk about my alien before,
Yep.
with the transparent skull. We all learned that lesson.
Yeah.
I found the rest of the series. So there's also another alien with the closed mouth.
Okay.
We've got the chest burster. I had this before, but now I have 2. I've got Ellen Ripley in the little
Nice.
spacesuit, and she's got the little grapple gun thing. And kind of the neatest one of all is Kane with a face hugger, and he comes with a little egg. And if you rip the face hugger off, you can see he actually does still have
Oh wow.
the mask and
Yep.
everything.
That's
It
cool.
snaps in there.
Don't have to pay John Hurt any likeness there because his face is pretty.
That's the
messed
thing
up.
about these. That's exactly why Ellen Ripley is in the
Yeah,
suit.
yeah,
And same thing for Marty
yeah,
being in his little plutonium suit. Any time they can get away with not showing a face, which of course is why Darth Vader, C-3PO, Yoda are
yeah.
always the characters you see on the cereal boxes.
Stormtrooper.
Yep. Anyone they can hide behind a mask. We own it 100%. Oh, I forgot about this. The aliens, they all came with pieces so you can make the derelict ship,
Wow.
which is
Yeah,
but at least at least I got them all. I'm happy.
that's cool.
So now I can stare at my toys.
Nice. I do not have any toys to show. I have not bought any.
You didn't
Well, I
buy
guess
any more Spider-Mans and He-Mans?
no. I did. A buddy of
Uh-oh.
mine gave me a General Lee.
Ooh, that's a nice one.
It's kind of beat up though, a little bit.
Well, that's how it should be.
I guess so. Oh, I thought that. Oh yeah, it does open. There you go. So you can see the Hemi
Ooh.
engine in there.
Is that actually made of metal?
Yeah, it's
Well, die cast.
a little dusty though. I need to clean it out.
It generally should be dusty and dirty.
Well, on the inside, it's all the dust is in there.
Well, come on, you jump through that window over
I
and
shouldn't-
over again. You're gonna bring in some dust.
I shouldn't show that. We're gonna get
No, you're gonna get it. My side of the screen is fine.
my side of the screen's gonna get flagged by YouTube.
Flagged for the flag.
Flag.
Why don't you just put a MAGA hat on top of that thing?
I thought we weren't getting political on this. No thanks. All right, that's it for toys. I got no
That's it.
more toys.
Oh, okay.
For
Well, I
me.
got movies and stuff, but I've been talking a bit. If you want to go first.
Oh, okay. Movies. Okay, so we you got this challenge, right? With the not so special podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But we put it on hold to do our Oscar stuff. And now that's all finished. And I was going to jump right back into the challenge, but we ran into a problem where we bought a number of DVDs. And when I went to go put them away on the shelf, they wouldn't fit on the shelf. So Sarah and I had to start watching some DVDs. Watching some questionable movies on our shelf.
Questionable.
Well, yeah, like we bought them. They were cheap. Let's give this movie a try kind of thing. And it's like, okay, it's time to give this movie a try to see if it's something that we actually want to keep on the shelf or get rid of. So,
that's fair.
And I mean, these movies were like $1 or $2 each. They were not very expensive. So I'll start with probably no one knows this movie. I didn't even know we had it on the shelf until Sarah pulled it down and said, let's watch this. So I was speaking about a young Sam Elliott, and that is a reference to this movie called Off the Map, which was an early, look at that, and it's a Blockbuster release. Blockbuster.
Ooh,
You got the old Blockbuster-ness in there. So I probably should keep the case because this will probably be a collector's item at some point. And just put it in a generic DVD case. But not a very good movie. So this is one that we.
But it's got big thumbs up.
No, I would not give it a thumbs up. It's an indie film, and it's like just full of indie film cliches. Sam Elliott plays this guy who's going through depression, and he's holding everything back. So he's got an over-concerned wife and a precocious child, and they're all, and his best friend is what's his name from J. Jonah Jameson there from the Spider-Man movies. What the heck's his name?
I'm blanking.
It's also in Oz. J.K. Simmons. J.K. Simmons is his best friend. And I don't know. It was just it was boring. It was a boring film. They're off the map. They're in like the Arizona desert, and they don't have any electricity. They had big jobs, but that was making them depressed, so they go out and try to get back to their roots, kind of thing. Live a very minimalist lifestyle. They only make like a couple of $1,000s a year. It takes place in the 70s, so they could get away with a little less money every year. Anyways, they didn't pay their taxes, so this guy, the IRS guy, comes to like collect taxes. So then he's like, "I'm an IRS guy. I got to collect your taxes." And then he finds out how like quirky and cool his family is, so he decides to let his IRS job go and decides to live with them. It's just one of those movies. Meanwhile, they still need to pay those taxes. Like, I don't know. Anyways,
So you're saying Off the Map is staying off the shelf?
off the shelf. It is it's going to be donated. I come to think of it, all the movies that we watched here, they're going to be donated.
Really?
Yeah, there's not a single one.
So wait a
we
minute, how did
decided
you come across these movies? You just
like
they
a
were cheap, just
like a buck, like we
picked 'em
find
up
them.
on a whim.
Yeah. It's like, okay, I know that actress, or you might have heard something good about her, whatever.
Mhm.
Sometimes like we just buy these, like we could watch them, we could stream them. I have the Android box. A lot of the movies are there, but it's just if you have them there on the shelf, you actually think of watching them. You know what I mean? So, and
You know what? One of the reasons why I like the physical media is because when I sit down to watch a movie, I like to sit down and watch it. And the act of taking something out and setting it up
yeah,
makes me feel like, okay, I'm committed to this action.
yeah.
As soon as I can just click click, it's on in 2 seconds, then I can move around the house or whatever.
So then the next other movie we tried was this Girl on the Train, starring Emily Blunt. So it's a thriller with this woman, Emily Blunt, not a girl, she's a woman. She's on a train and she's looking at this house, and she sees this other woman on the deck, like the second story deck of the house, and she starts thinking about this woman, like what's her life like and everything like that, and blah blah blah. Well, it turns out that Emily Blunt is like actually the ex-wife of the guy who lives there, and that's his new girlfriend. And there's is there a murder or someone was attacked? That's how much of an impression this movie left on me. I can't even remember details on whether or not someone was killed or yeah, someone was killed. That's right. And then, so they're looking for a third woman because you just need more women in the movie. And then there's what's her face, Allison Jenny. Is that her name? I think so. Yeah, Allison Jenny's in the movie. She plays the detective that's trying to put up this murder together and all that. It was one of those. It's based on a book, and it's one of those stories that you could see would make for a much better book because it's all about psychology and this husband that's gaslighting. I don't know if that's a spoiler, but this husband that's gaslighting people and all that. So you could kind of see how it would make for an interesting story in a novel, but for in a movie, it was kind of like, nah.
Yeah, well, it helps if you can get inside the character's head for something like that, and that's where all the
Yeah.
novelized monologuing and
There's
stuff
not
goes
much to show. Like there's just not much to show. It's
on.
all
Yeah.
about like internal, like what's going on in these characters' heads, in their minds and stuff like that. And you can see how that would work, but I don't know. Just kind of wasn't that great. This is a movie that Sarah bought for $2 with Tina Fey and Paul Rudd, called Admission. And we have all heard the saying out there that Rudd don't dud. And I hate to say it, but Rudd, he didn't really dud that much. But, he was okay in the movie. This movie it's one of those movies that's okay. It's just not, there's not much funny in it. Like there's like, I wasn't laughing at all. And with a movie like this, that's like light and the story's not, that interesting. It's like a cliched story because it's just there designed for humor. to set up humor, but there's not much humor. It's just it just becomes a boring film. So she plays she's an like she allows people she decides who gets into, I think it's Princeton University that she works for. She's on the admissions board for Princeton University. They only allow so many students in every year, and they all have their favorites kind of thing, like a student that they really like that they want, but the others might not agree, like they'll see something in them or whatever, blah blah blah. The movie puts a lot of emphasis on how dramatic and exciting administration is, but it really isn't that exciting, but this movie really feels like as if it is. Anyways, Paul Rudd plays he's like he runs like not a college, but some sort of school that's like a farm school where the students are learn how to agriculture and how to raise animals and stuff like that. Right. It's not necessarily Princeton material, right? So but they need to. Princeton has this status or this reputation where they get so many applicants and only allow so many through. So they actually have to go around and campaign high schools to, hey, come, like, try, like, apply to our school kind of thing, because that just gives them like this higher status kind of thing. Like the more students that apply to their school and the more students they reject, they actually get like this higher status. United States is weird, man. I don't understand how you guys do your education system or anything. It's just weird. But anyways, so yeah, so they're desperate for people to apply. So she goes to this quirky school where they wouldn't normally go to because they slipped into second place. Another university went into first place, so they're in second place. So to get back in first place, they're just trying to get anyone they can to apply. So she goes there to convince these students who are interested in agriculture to apply to Princeton, even though them getting in, it's not that great because it's not really an academic thing, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, two quirky characters, two quirky actors, blah, blah, blah. The comedy is supposed to ensue, but not much ensued. It was kind of lame.
Doesn't sound all that relatable to the average person, Is that an issue that you deal with in your life, that your university status has been lowered and you need to go?
There wasn't much. No, there wasn't much there to relate to, but it was more of the characters. Like Lily Tomlin plays Tina Fey's mother, and Lily Tomlin's mother's a bit of a narcissist, I'd say. She's just all into her own thing and that, and she kind of ignores her daughter. Like she wants to she believes because Tina Fey's an adult now and she's an older woman that they could be friends. Let's just call each other on first name basis. We don't have to be mom and daughter, kind of thing, which is just really awkward. And I can, on some levels, I could kind of relate to that kind of thing, but it just wasn't that funny. It just wasn't that. Have you ever heard of the Sabata series? The Sabata series.
Antonio Sabata Jr.?
The Sabata series of spaghetti Western films from the same producer that brought you The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. So there's a movie called, I can't remember the names of the movie. Oh, geez. Let me see if I can find it here.
The Ugly, the Bad, and the Good?
No, there's, let me see if I can find it. Hold on. This is going to take me a split second here.
Django Goes to France.
So so the first movie came out, and it's just called Sabata. Came out in 1969. Okay. And it starred Lee Van Cleef.
Okay.
And then it did okay. So they came out with another film called Adios Sabata, 1970. And it stars Yul Brynner in the title role.
Okay.
Now, when I was at the DVD store and I saw this movie on the shelf, I thought, oh, this sounds cool. I didn't realize that it was the third movie in the series, starring Lee Van Cleef again, called Return of Sabata. And it looked cool. It's got a cool cover. He's got the little gun there, and you know,
MGM logo and all. Yeah, looks
yeah.
good.
So I thought, oh, this would be a cool spaghetti western, but it's not. It's not very good
Yeah,
at all.
I'm
It
wary of those. I come across a few like westerns in the shops, and I'm like, I've never heard of this one, but
yeah.
something tells me there's a reason why.
Well, I'm all like, I like the Sam Peckinpah things, the Wild Bunch and all that stuff. So I'm open to giving these kind of films a try, especially for a couple of dollars. Like Burt Lancaster did a whole bunch of really good westerns. This one was just the plot is nonsensical. I can't even remember what the heck it was about. And I think I just ended up watching like the first hour before I just bailed on it. It wasn't very good. So I can't recommend that one. So that one's, again, off the shelf. Okay, these last two movies, I'm guessing, I know for certain you've heard of one of these films, but do you remember the film? This was a made-for-TV movie. Give me a big hint here. Made-for-TV
Stephen
movie.
King's The Shining.
It's from the 80s. It's got nothing to do with
Uh,
Stephen King. It's got nothing to do with aliens, no V or anything like that. This was a made-for-TV movie about atomic weapons,
Dr. Hose.
setting off the atomic
Oh.
bomb. Very
80.
topical with the Oppenheimer film, winning Best Picture. So you don't remember the film starring Jason Robards and a very young Steve Guttenberg
Ooh,
called The Day After.
I do not.
Don't remember this movie. I
Nope.
remember watching this movie when I was a kid, and it freaked me right out. I was like, so mind-blowing, scary, because the movie is about these people living in Kansas, and they're farmers, and they're doing their farming thing, and there is like a military base that's off to the side that some people deal with and that, but they're farmers. They farm. They all have in their basement though a little place to go in case something nuclear happens.
Mm-hmm.
But that, whatever, they're not thinking about it. And then all of a sudden, Russia invades. I can't remember. They invade some country or something like that. There's this war going on. They're just, they're not even paying attention to what's happening. Like they'll pass by a TV and it'll be like news reports and that, and they're like, what's the price of corn? Like they're just looking for the price of corn. Then all of a sudden, they hear from the military base, these sirens go off, and these big giant missiles start flying out of the ground. And they're like, oh my God, what's happening? And so they're all flicking on the news and stuff like that. And they realize that the Soviet Union has launched nuclear weapons that are coming to the United States, and they got about 30 minutes to live. And the only way they knew is because they're living around all these nuclear silos. And I'm like, I like when I was a kid, I'm like, this is mind blowing to me that these things are just sitting there, like in these fields in the United States, and they're all pointed and aimed to go somewhere and all that. So eventually in this movie, the bombs do drop, and this freaked me out so much when I was a kid, because when the bombs drop, like it'd be like there'd be a person standing there, and then you'd just see their outline and their skeleton, and it would flash, and then they're gone. And it would do that, like it was probably like 30 seconds in the movie, but it feels like it goes on forever. And I remember watching it, and then I had, when it re-aired like a year later or something like that, and I ended up watching it again because I wanted to, like, was that movie really that scary? And I watch it again, I'm like, yeah, this movie really is that scary. So yeah, found it out there. I guess we paid $3.99 for it, so paid a little more for that one. But at the end of the day, like, this movie is really more about making a political statement about nuclear weapons. It doesn't really tell a cohesive story. It's all about just events that happen. Like after the bomb drops, it takes a lot of it takes place in a hospital with Jason Robards, and it's just how they're dealing with life now after the bomb has fallen. And the movie did receive a lot of criticism at the time, because really, if a nuclear bomb, was set off in the area, it would just annihilate everything, right? There wouldn't
Well,
be, yeah, like there would be people running around in a hospital trying, like it kind of turns into a little bit of a medical drama, which it's not very realistic. The people that went down into their basements, like, good luck. If you were far enough away from it, there would be residuals on the spot. Anyways,
it would explain why Mahoney had a chip on his shoulder before going into the academy.
yep, this was 1 year before Police Academy, the first Police Academy film. There's also John Lithgow is in the film, but he's in it for a very short period of time. It's funny, like all the names that you would recognize who are in the film, there, other than Steve Guttenberg and Jason Robards, they're in the film for a very short period of time. But it's directed by your boy, Nicholas Meyer.
Nicholas Meyer. From 2 and 6.
That's right, Star Trek 2 and 6. So yeah, after Star Trek 2, you got the job to do this. It was a big deal at the time because a lot of people, I think it aired on ABC, and it was like, this movie's impossible. You can't do this movie on television. And just some people just like, okay, well, if you're gonna tell us we can't do it, we're gonna do it. And so it's interesting on that part, but they really should have told a little bit more of a story. And if they made it a little more realistic, I hear there's a series that came out like a year later in England that's really, I can't remember the name of it, but apparently it's like, it makes this movie look like a Walt Disney cartoon. Apparently. So I'm interested in seeking that out, but I got to remember the name. I do know
there was a very short-lived TV series called Oops that dealt with nuclear fallout.
Oops. That sounds like a comedy.
Yeah, it did not last very long, but basically I remember the intro being, there's like a parade with nuclear missiles, and I think some kid's like remote control car or something ended up firing off the missile, and then you get the big mushroom cloud, and it's just I don't know, half a dozen people who are now living in a house in the post-apocalypse.
Yeah,
and they argue over who's going to make dinner.
That's an oops. That's an oops for sure. Yeah, like that's a thing. Like in this movie, like Jason Robards is on a highway, and a bomb falls, and the big mushroom cloud, explodes, and he's just standing there watching the mushroom cloud, like, oh my goodness.
If you can see a mushroom cloud, you're
toast. You're toast, dude. There's no like, okay, well, let me get back in my car and drive to the hospital, and
I just got to get some selfies real quick.
Yeah. Okay, finally, well, sort of finally, followed up the drama that was the day after, the next day, with a comedy. We needed to lighten things up.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I had seen this movie in the 90s, and I did not remember a thing about it other than David Letterman makes a cameo appearance.
Mm-hmm.
Based on those clues, can you think of the name of this film?
90s David Letterman.
David Letterman makes a small cameo appearance because the movie stars a person who was his head writer for probably about a decade, many years in the 80s. You don't know David.
I'm not the biggest Letterman fan. I don't know who wrote for the show.
Okay, well, the film stars Chris Elliott, who was David Letterman's.
Oh, okay, right. Cabin Boy?
You are correct, sir. Cabin Boy.
All right.
Cabin Boy.
I've never seen that. I always wanted to see it, but I've never.
So I had not seen it since the 90s. I didn't remember a thing about it. I remember liking it in the 90s. Not so much this time around. It is.
I can't imagine it's very good, but
well, it's not.
Is it likable?
I don't know. It's one of those
Wow.
movies that is completely out of my ability to recommend or not recommend because it's a nonsensical comedy. It's one of those comedies that like I was reading some what other people were saying about it, and they said it's like Tank Girl, that kind of film where it's just really
I've never seen that.
so like he's the movie starts he's in university. It's graduation day. He just graduation from this preppy university. He's ready to go out on life. He's supposed to like he's a snotty kid. You know, he's telling the headmaster off and all this stuff. And he's walking to go and get on a boat because his father's rich and he's going to go live a privileged life. So he walks into this town and he sees a sign, and the sign says, "Go this way to your boat." And so he takes that way, but then there was a cow that was in the way. He was actually supposed to go the other way. So he ends up on this boat that is like it's a fishing boat with fishermen who are just not the most high class of society.
Can I ask,
Um,
is this movie set in the 90s or is it more of a period
that's
piece?
so that's the weird thing. Like a lot of the film feels like as if it takes place like in the 1800s, like 1890s.
That's what I kind of remember from trailers. I assumed it was more like a, pirate-esque,
It
because even the
it
term cabin boy.
Yeah, it feels like that, but like he at first, his father got him a car to take him from the school to the boat. And the car it's like a Cadillac from the 1970s, right? It's not
Hmm.
like like a horse and carriage or something like that. So, and then eventually he just ends up pissing off the driver, and the driver just leaves him in the middle of the road. It's like, welcome to real life, kid, and he takes off. Anyways, he ends up on this boat, um, and he doesn't really understand like his position. It's like a fish out of water kind of story. Like he thinks
Okay.
they're going to take him to Hawaii, but they're just taking him fishing. Andy Richter's in the film. He eventually meets this woman who is trying to swim around the world. Like she's just swimming beside the boat, and like she's lying there. She's not doing anything. And he goes in and he picks her up, and she's like, "Oh, you ruined my record. I was going to swim across the world." He's like, "Well, you were just lying there." She's like, "Yeah, but I was sleeping." you know. And
Hmm.
then anytime he wants to get around, the only funny part, this was a funny part, was anytime he needed to get around, like he would just hop on her back and have her swim to wherever he needed to go.
Hmm.
It's one of those kind of comedies. It's just
Well,
so
it's one of
out there.
anytime I encounter something like that, which I have one on my list as well, it always reminds me of The Simpsons and how you can get away with that sort of humor in animation form because all of those jokes that you just mentioned, I
Yeah,
can picture them working on The Simpsons.
yeah,
It's there's something about bringing it into real life and not having a rigid structure to the story that just makes it feel like what are you doing? Why do you think this would work?
yeah,
But in certain cases it can work.
yeah. It doesn't work for me. Like Monty Python, but Monty Python to me, they told jokes that were funny.
A
They were
lot some of it also has to do with pacing, I think, because there are times where you can have a completely ludicrous over the top joke, but you gotta get on with it.
mm,
Sometimes a movie they'll have this joke, but they'll spend time on the scene as if it were no normal scene, and you just kind of feel like I got it, I get on with
well,
it.
the movie looks very cheap as well, which did not help at all. Like any scene that's on the boat, it is so obvious that they're on a soundstage. And
Hmm.
anytime they're in the water, like this ocean that they're supposed to be in, they're obviously in a pool. There's no waves or anything like that. And
Hmm.
I get it. Like those kind of details are not supposed to be like you don't need them for a comedy,
Well, yeah,
but it
I
just kind of takes you out of the movie when you just kind of like obviously that's a set that they're on right now. They're not on a boat.
Yeah, well, to me, cheap comedy works better when it has a cheap set. The reason you would laugh at like sketch comedy on SNL or something obviously it looks very phony and fake and cheap and all that, but if the jokes match the surroundings,
Right.
because I have a movie on my list as well that would fit that criteria. Where I
Well,
think
I
the
found after watching the
cheapness
movie,
works in its favor.
after I watched the movie, I found out a thing about this movie that kind of made sense why it is the way it is and why it probably doesn't work originally. And he's even listed as a producer on here. This movie was supposed to be, it started off as a Tim Burton film. And some of
Okay.
his ideas are in the movie. Like there is a floating cupcake that he runs into. And this was apparently all designed by Tim Burton. But then Tim Burton abandoned this project because he wanted to work on Ed Wood. He only had like a small, he wanted, what's his face? Martin Landau to play Bela
Bela
Lugosi,
Lugosi.
and he wanted Johnny Depp. And those were like, there was a period of time where they were available. And he just said, okay, screw Cabin Boy, because those are the two guys that I want for Ed Wood, and I'm going to go make Ed Wood. So Chris Elliott was left without Tim Burton. So Chris Elliott just got a guy named Adam Resnick, who was another writer for David Letterman, to direct the film. A guy who's never directed anything before. He was just his buddy. So he brought him in, and that's how we ended up with Cabin Boy.
I gotcha.
Yeah. And I mean, you got a pretty a decent cast. Like Brian Doyle Murray is on the boat.
Sure.
The guy who plays the coach in Major League, Coach Brown, Lou Brown, is one of the guys on here. So not really my kind of film. Go ahead and watch it, but beware. Like it just it's over my head. Okay. One last film that I watched in order to get stuff off of the shelf right here. We got all that off the shelf. That didn't stop us from buying this.
Of course.
I'll just say I a few things here that I bought. For $1, I found About Schmidt. I haven't seen this movie in a very long time, and it's directed by Alexander Payne, who did the Holdovers film. And then I found a Jet Li movie, Hero, that has something to do with Quentin Tarantino, apparently. But for $1.
Is it a Quentin Tarantino presents?
Yeah.
I think that means he put his name on it so people would watch it.
Well, it's kind of like Spielberg. He was kind of like Spielberg at the time. He would just come in, he'd look around the set and say, yeah, what you're doing here is good. And then they would be able to flap his name, just like Back to the Future. And then on Blu-ray, I found A Serious Man by the Coen brothers for $1. For $1. So that one's pretty good. If you haven't seen it, I haven't watched it in a very long time, but it's really good. Hey, we got Deke here from the Distortion Den.
Hey.
So
we're getting late.
So to tie in with Cabin Boy and Coach Lou Brown from Major League, last night, I've been watching sports lately as well. I've been watching the Blue Jays, and I've been watching the Sudbury Wolves, who are in the playoffs right now. But last night, there was no Wolves game on. There was no Jays game on. So what did I do? I put in a sports movie, because why not? And I watched again the old Major League.
Ooh,
yeah.
I still do not have a copy of Major. Well, technically, I have a laser disc of Major League, but I lack the ability to use it.
So I can't. I don't think. I think we did this for Fandango.
We did do Major League. I forget what we did it with, but
because it was got Cat Max here too.
We did.
Steven. Oh, he's in a washroom.
What
He's in the washroom. But when we did Major League, we didn't do part 2 or Back to the Minors, right? Because you just watched Back to the Minors.
I did watch that recently, yes.
And you enjoyed the Back to the Minors?
I thought for what it was fine. I was expecting worse, so I was pleasantly
the bar
surprised.
Was down here, and it was right there. So yeah, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Because I ended up watching for the first time since the 90s again, Major League 2,
which I still
and
have not seen.
it is so bad. I could not bring myself to get to Back to the Minors because
Really?
so it's Major League 2 is one of those sequels where they just kind of rehash the same jokes from this. Like Major League 2 even
Mhm.
opens with not a montage, but like clips from the first movie to remind
Mhm.
you of the better movie kind of thing. It's not like to wrap up the story at the end or anything. It's just clips of the first film. And Major League 2, the first is a classic. It's still good. Harry Doyle, still Bob Uecker as Harry Doyle, still great. The second, he's completely wasted in the film because they kind of rely on him to do more play-by-play to tell the story instead of his reactions to what's on the screen, what's happening on the screen. Like that's what was funny, right? Something would happen on the screen. Charlie Sheen misses the plate. Harry Doyle's on the radio and he says, just a bit outside. Like that's the reaction to what's happening. Whereas in Major League 2, they're relying on him to tell you what's happening because the movie's so incompetent that you wouldn't understand what was going on unless he was describing what was
That could
happening.
have been a post-production issue where
I
they
think
just brought him
so.
in and said, "Hey, you know what? We got to put this together somehow. Bring him in, do some voiceover."
Well, I think like they might have added some dialogue and stuff like that to help him
Mm.
with the film. Anyways, it's one of those films where it was shot. It came out in 1993. First movie was 1989. So there's like a bit of a gap there. But for whatever reason, they decided to make it the next season. And so it doesn't really make sense because everybody looks about 5 years older. But
Well,
then like part of you could tell that they really struggled with whether or not they wanted to make it the next season or a few years later because so many of the characters like Corbin Bernstein's character, he was like a 270 hitter, had 80 RBIs in 1989. The next year he's retired and he buys the baseball club. That doesn't make any sense. And then halfway through the film they say, no, that's not a good idea. He's back on the team. Forget about that. He's back on the team. And then same with Charlie Sheen. Like he was Wild Thing, right? Come out, everyone's like Wild Thing, right? And
yep.
then the next year he's like, all of a sudden he's not Wild Thing anymore. I don't want to
Really?
be Wild Thing. I'm not Wild Thing anymore. And then halfway through the movie, they're like, you know what? Forget it. He's Wild Thing again. He's Wild Thing. Forget about that whole thing. Like it's really bizarre. It's almost worth watching to see like how bad a sequel can be. And there's like hardly any jokes in the movie at all. Like the my favorite part of the film was so Willie Mays Hayes was played by Wesley Snipes in the first film.
Yes.
He does not come back for the second film. The
I've heard
character
that. Yeah.
does, but the actor, it's played by a different actor. And nothing against the actor, but again, they it's like the same thing. Like in the first film, he was a fast guy. He was very like, speedy, but he couldn't hit, right? He was always swinging for the fences. So they told, hey, hit the ball on the ground. You got great speed. And, and then that's where he learns his thing, right? That was like his very mini arc because he wasn't that important of a character in the film, but his little tiny arc. In the second film, he's swinging for the fences again. It makes no sense. Why is he swinging for the fences again? And he wants to be like a power hitter. And he does this for about half the movie. And then it's like, no, you know what? Forget that whole power hitter thing. Just forget it. He's Willie Mays Hayes again. He's going to be running. Don't worry about it. But at the beginning of the film, it's one of those like movies within a movie. He became such a celebrity that he went and he shot a film with Jesse Ventura. And it's called, I think it's, I can't remember. What the heck was the name of the film? It was, give me a second here. It was, Willie Mays Hayes was the Black Hammer and Jesse Ventura was White Lightning. So it was called Black Hammer, White Lightning. And it's like this really cheesy, film, like action movie. And where they're obviously using, dummies, like, one guy would get shot and they just throw a dummy down a cliff and at the bottom a dummy would just lie there. And it looked really bad. That movie looked like so much more fun to watch. You'd want to watch that movie more than Major League 2.
Hmm.
It had like some of the character, like Rene Russo was a character in the first film. She comes back in the second film for like one little scene just to say that she's not going to be in the movie. It's just, I don't know.
There could be something to it. I would still check it out if it came
I
across
would
my way.
go
I
ahead.
wouldn't expect much because I'm looking here real quick. Rotten Tomatoes, I believe it has a 5%,
Major League 2 has a
whereas
5%. Yeah.
5%, whereas Major League Back to the Minors has a 21%.
Okay. Well, maybe this is indeed the worst out of the three,
Could be.
but it's just a perfect example of a phone in sequel doing the
Well,
same
it's
jokes.
one
Like,
of those movies where it there's enough material for the first movie, and then what do you do? It's like Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. How do
yeah,
you recycle that idea?
yeah. I mean,
It
it
made a
could. I think it could.
$1 billion, but
I think it could have worked if they made it like Tom Berenger at the beginning of the film. It's like the exact same thing happens. Like in the first movie, he's this aging catcher. His knees are hurting him, but they need a catcher on the team, and they need a guy with some experience to help them, lead the team. This way, it's the exact same thing again for some weird reason. And then at halfway through the film, they're like, no, what, forget it. He's a manager now. He's the manager. Like it's really weird to watch like this movie. Like it's like they had one idea and then they got halfway through and like, you know what? Let's go with the first idea that we had. And they just kind of like went back. It's a very
it
weird.
could be that. I mean, if you were tasked with, they say, okay, it was a big hit. Let's make another one. What do you got? It's like, I don't know.
Like it like Corbin Bernstein. Like he buys the franchise. He buys even though like he was a player the year before. He buys the Cleveland Indians, and then because he's losing money, he only has enough money to keep the team for like 3 months. Halfway through the season, he sells it back to the previous owner, and we're back in the first movie again, where she's trying to ruin the team, and they're trying to like win it all. What? This doesn't make any sense. They
Uh,
already like what the fans left or something. I don't know. The whole thing doesn't make any sense. But it's a fun movie to watch if you want to see like what's like how everything could go wrong with the sequel. How nothing works in that movie other than Black Hammer, White Lightning. That was the only part that worked.
hmm.
And there's a girl in the film, and her name is the actress's name is Alison Duty.
Oh, you got some entertainment out of that, huh?
I did. I saw
Nice.
that was a big laugh for me, Duty. And then there's a guy, another actor in the movie. He plays the character Steve, and his name is Courtney P.
Courtney P.
P-E-E. Courtney P.
P. All right.
So you got Alison Duty and Courtney P.
Courtney P.
See, I told you it's funny. Told you it's funny.
Sure.
I
can
got a kick out
appreciate
of it.
that.
Anyways, that's it. I'm done.
Duty. Boy. All right. Well, you mentioned the ABC challenge there. I'm a little behind. I gotta check out the most recent podcast because I think I'm behind on that. But I currently need U, X, and Z. I only need 3 more letters to actually complete this challenge.
Oh wow! I better move it then. You're gonna finish before I do.
Yeah, I currently sitting on a score of 79 points.
Wow.
Now, I don't know if that's accurate though, because I've already watched one number movie for the New Game Plus, so I don't know if those points actually count until I finish the ABCs.
I think Josh said you have to finish that, and then you can do the new game.
Probably. So
Plus.
I would deduct a few points from there. But I have watched 83 movies, like first time watches
Wow. This
so
year?
far this year.
Wow.
Yes. And I've rewatched a few things too, so my total viewing of films is probably closer to 100 movies.
My goodness, I'm only at a total of 67 this year.
I've been working hard,
Oh,
putting in the
geez.
extra hours.
I gotta go back to Stouffville and do nothing but watch movies all day.
Hmm.
This is ridiculous. Sudbury is keeping me too busy. This is silly.
One of those movies, I did get a bump up in my points because I went to the theater after the Oscars. They re-released the Godzilla negative minus
Minus
one
one, yeah.
here because it won an Academy Award. And when you get your movie ticket, it says Academy Award winner Godzilla
Oh,
minus one.
nice. Is
That's
that
the
the first
official
time?
title of the film.
Was that the first time a Godzilla film has won an Academy
I
Award?
do believe so, and my wife was pretty proud. She's like, "I'm so glad a Japanese Godzilla won an Oscar before an American
Yeah.
Godzilla."
Well,
I don't think she'd have to worry about that.
no, no,
Uh,
it's
but
deserved.
I'll say, as a film, it was fine. I didn't really think it was great or anything, but the effects were pretty impressive at points. Sometimes they look super cheesy, and I'm like, "Why did this win?" But then there are other times where it's like, "Oh,
Yeah, I thought a lot
wow,
of
it was
the
pretty good."
I thought a lot of the boat scenes were not that great. Like when you'd see like
Uh,
the
I'd say
food.
like the stuff I was seeing early on, I can't remember it all, but I just remember being like, that doesn't look very good.
Mhm.
But then later on, some of the things did get me. It was okay. I was a bit surprised that they played a trailer for Godzilla versus King Kong Part 2 before this Godzilla movie. I don't know if they want to associate themselves with
I
that.
Yeah, because they're two different
It's
franchises, right?
two different branches from the
Yeah.
same tree.
I guess I don't care. They just if there's overlap where someone will is
So
into
yeah,
Godzilla, they might watch
well,
this
I'm
one.
sure the company Toho that owns it, so I'm sure they was like, well, hey,
Yeah.
come on, get us some more money. But that's it. I was very surprised. I wasn't expecting to go to the movie theater, but we ended up going.
Nice. Oh, it was the whole
I
family went or just you and the wife?
Yeah. Unfortunately, we couldn't sit together because they do the booked seating thing,
Oh
and
my
like
goodness.
we couldn't get four seats together.
I forgot to mention that. Like anytime I've been to the movie theater, you're sitting in seats that are like movie theater seats, like normal seats.
Hmm.
I didn't buy the ticket for Kung Fu Panda 4. That was bought for me as well. I just kind of showed up and here, Uncle Kevin, go sit down. And blah, blah, blah. So I get there and there were lounge seats. Like you sit
Oh,
there and
really?
you put your feet up. You had like Sarah and I actually got to sit in a love seat together. Like we got to sit side by side and hold
Interesting.
hands while watching Kung Fu Panda 4. And you got your
Nice.
cup holders and everything, even though I didn't buy anything to drink or anything like that. But yeah, it was wild. After the movie finished, it was only like an 80-minute movie, but after it was done, I was like, put another one on. I don't feel like getting up. I'm in my lounge chair here.
I've seen those chairs, but I've never experienced them.
Me neither. I can't remember what tier it's at, but yeah, I was impressed. I'm like, bring that to Sudbury. I don't know if we have a theater like that here.
I think that's the theater industry. They got to get people in how they can. So it's like, hey, you got luxury seating now.
Well, I think they recognize that they're not going to pack the theaters as tightly as they used to be able to.
Right.
So get the people who are going to show up, charge them a little bit more, and make them a little bit more comfortable because those are the people who are going
Right.
to come back, right?
I haven't seen this either, but I do believe I've heard it. Don't they have uh um can you order food and have it brought to your seat in certain theaters?
I don't know. I know that they ordered food for the kids ahead of time, and my brother-in-law went to go get it at some point, but I don't know if they would actually deliver to your seat.
I don't know. I'm fairly certain that maybe it's like a specialty theater thing, but I'm pretty sure I've heard
I
something like
I
that.
remember watching this documentary. I can't remember what it was called, but it was about these guys who watch films in New York City, and they would go to the theater to watch all these old films. This was kind of before
Mhm.
right around when DVD was coming out. It was like late 90s. So these guys were totally against watching movies on a 4:3 screen.
Mhm.
VHS was garbage. You had to go to the movie theater to watch these movies, and they would plan their entire day around going to all these movie theaters and getting watching as many movies as they possibly could. Because back then, I don't know if it's still this way, but in New York City, there was a bunch of small little theaters that would run like old movies like Casablanca or
Mhm.
uh, Citizen Kane or whatever, like even like lesser known film noir films or whatever, like Night of the Hunter or whatever. And they would spend their entire day going on the subway, timing everything to so like guys were even like they would time their bowel movements so they could get on a train. There was one guy that only ate peanut butter sandwiches because that would like his bowel movements would be predictable if he stuck to peanut butter sandwiches.
My
And if you went to
goodness.
the theater and they served popcorn at the theater, they would turn around and walk out the door because you do not eat while you're watching a film. You're there to watch the film. Forget
I
food.
agree 100%. In
I was,
fact, what I hadn't been to the theater for a while, and as soon as we sat down, and they're doing the trailers and all the noise and everything and the commercials and stuff, but as soon as that settles and those side curtains start to part when they're getting ready, gets kind of quiet, and all I hear is
yeah, yep,
and I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe people are still doing this.
yeah. Nope. You can't have and like one of the guys he was like he was in love with Lana Turner. He wanted to see like all of the movies unless it was in color. If there was a Lana Turner film that was in color or colorized, he did not want to see it because to him she should look and be in black and white. That's it. That's
Mhm.
he loved the black and white version of Lana Turner. No other version. She had any sort of pigment on her, forget it. He was out of there. Okay, I wish I could remember the name of that film. It was a fun watch.
It's too bad they didn't have widespread internet at the time. I'm sure they would be very popular in the chat rooms.
Yeah, I bet. I don't know if it's still like that in New York. I doubt there's many theaters that show old films like that. There's probably a few, but
I'm sure there are some, just like the way
yeah.
there are still arcades out there.
Actually, come
It's
to
just
think
for a smaller audience.
come to think of it, Sudbury does have a retro theater that does show older films. So lately they've been showing the Oscar nominated films. I can't remember the name of the theater, but anyways, sorry, I'm bogarting your
That's all
portion.
right. I don't mind. In fact, I remember one of my favorite theaters was this super cheap theater. It was a bit of a drive, but you could go to the movies for like $2, and this
Yeah,
was in the early 2000s.
yeah,
It, they would play movies that had already disappeared from all the other theaters.
yep,
So it's like maybe the stuff is even already out on home video, but
yep.
hey, you can go see it in the theater. Two
There was
bucks.
a theater like that when we were living in Barrie, around 2000 and that. It was called the Stinson Theater, the
Hmm.
Stinson Theater, and we called it the Stingy Theater because you can watch movies for $2. You sat in the seat, and the seat might have like a lump in the middle up your tuchus, or it might be
Hmm.
like the back might be twisted a little bit, so you're watching the watching the movie like this the whole time. But yeah, for $2, you couldn't beat like seeing a movie that was going to come out on VHS in like 3 months. So you beat the VHS release by 3 months or something.
Yeah, as long as you have decent conditions, and by decent I mean it's dark enough that you're not looking around the theater,
Yeah.
and it's quiet enough that you can focus on the movie. The worst theater I ever went to was this really, really tiny theater, and I went there to see Star Trek Nemesis.
Oh,
So
that
it
that
wasn't the
gem.
greatest it wasn't the greatest experience to begin with. But the theater was so small and there was like no soundproofing. So you could hear people walking by in
Oh
the
my
hallways
goodness.
and stuff.
Yeah.
It was just terrible. Basically, just like going to somebody's house with a bunch of strangers and you're all sitting around watching a movie.
Yeah.
Anywho, I did pick up quite a few things. I'm really getting spoiled by this online eBay-ish site they have here called Medukati, which I think is overseas as well, but I don't know. Anyway, I've been buying a bunch of. I've been finding a lot of really good deals. I found a couple of sellers that sell exclusively movies. There's one guy who's an American, and he's got tons and tons of like obscure stuff. It's not like when you go to the store and you just see, all right, there's the Matrix again, there's Minority Report again. It's he's got lots of obscure things. So I was able to pick up a few things from him, and he bundles things for a discounted price, which is nice. Anyway, I did get a Blu-ray copy of Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. I've been upgrading my DVDs to Blu-ray. I still need Escape and Battle.
Hmm.
Conquest is one of my favorites, though. So I'm glad
I'm way overdue to watch that whole series again. I think we did the first movie on Fandango, but I
We
need
did.
to watch. I need to watch the rest. It's been a long time.
First one is great. Escape is. Oh, sorry. Beneath is a retread, kind of like your Major League 2. Escape was pretty good. Conquest I really like. Battle was very weak. Or I would watch them all again. Excuse me. This movie I was happy to find. I've been trying to find this. This is one of those things that I saw in Red Letter Media. And I was like, I have never heard of that. I really want to watch it. I finally was able to get a copy. It's called Freaked.
Okay.
It's basically Alex Winter, who you know is Bill from
Yep.
Bill and Ted. This is like his brainchild. It's got Randy Quaid, Brooke Shields is in it, Mr. T. Guy goes to a like sideshow freak show thing, and they get turned into freaks. And it's about the freaks in the freak show. Very MTV, fast-paced, crazy thing. Lots of weird costumes and stuff. I don't know if you would enjoy it. It probably
Probably
falls
not.
in the it probably falls in the Cabin Boy thing where it's like it's not very tight. It's just a bunch of like weird stuff going on. Some of the comedy works, some of it doesn't. But it was an interesting watch.
I forgot to mention Randy Quaid is in Major League 2, uncredited as a fan.
Oh, he is right there on the cover of Freaked, and he's good in this. He's very entertaining. I had no idea. I only found out recently he actually is Dennis Quaid's brother.
Yeah.
I didn't know they were related.
Yeah.
I don't see the likeness until after I heard it. Then I was like looking in the eyes. I'm like, I kind of see it there, but they're so different in terms of their performance and personality and everything. I also finally got a copy of Fright Night. I don't know if you've ever seen this. It's a vampire movie.
I have not.
85. Chris Sarandon, who was in Child's Play, the original Child's Play. Roddy McDowell from the Planet of the Apes series, and Amanda Burse, who you know as Marcy Rhodes / Marcy Darcy, Married with Children.
Oh, right. Okay. Wow. And how is that? Is that good? You recommending that?
I enjoy it. I don't know if you would like it. You're not a big like Gremlins fan. It's kind of somewhat comedy horror.
I'm not big on vampires altogether.
Yeah. I don't know if you would really enjoy it. It's yeah, I do.
Fright Night from 1985. All right. I put it on.
They did do a remake. I haven't seen that one, but I can't imagine it's any good. This you're going to be surprised that I never had a copy of this. The original Austin Powers.
I'm not that surprised. I don't think I'm surprised you actually bought it. I thought you didn't like it.
No, I really enjoy it. I wasn't big on Austin Powers when it came out because it was everywhere,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
had people I worked with that were constantly quoting it and going on and on, and I didn't have any interest. When I finally did watch it, like a decade later, I was like, this is great. This is
Okay.
funny stuff.
Yeah.
But I have the second one. I have the third one. I just, for whatever reason, I can never find the original. It doesn't seem to show up in
Now you have it.
the shops here. So I rewatched it as soon as I got it, and yeah, I totally dig it. This is a good example of kind of cheap comedy with cheap sets and things, and it works to its benefit.
Yeah. Now, is that movie? It appears to be in a green Xbox case, which kind of makes it look really sharp. I like that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a
The
little lighter green.
I don't know. I have The Spy Who Shagged Me on Blu-ray, and then I have Gold Member on DVD. I have a Japanese DVD for Gold Member. I do remember that the US DVD for Gold Member was a blue case. So maybe they all had different
Hmm.
colors to them.
Interesting.
I'm sure they've been re-released in like a 3-pack since then. I caught up to you. I also got a copy of Day of the Dead.
Oh, nice. With the flap? You got the flap
Yeah, is
on
that the
there?
one you have?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Got the
Oh, that's
flap and
cool.
it's got a little booklet inside.
Yes, yeah. All right, we're
Yeah,
all
yeah.
members of the
Ah,
club
cool.
now.
Hey. So I was glad I could finally watch the this installment because I had seen the others. Did you watch yours yet?
No, of course not.
No.
I
Okay.
I need to watch. I need to start from the beginning because I all those movies confuse me. Although I do get it now. It's Night of the Dead,
Mm-hmm.
Dawn of the Dead, then
Mm-hmm.
Day of the Dead, right? Because it
That's
goes
it.
like it's like the sun is going around
It's
the,
you
the,
just follow the natural time
the Earth is
cycle.
rotating and the sun does its thing.
Yes.
That's
But
how
then
time
after
works.
this, you've got like Land of the Dead and Diary of the Dead. I
Yeah,
haven't
that's where
seen
I'm
those
lost
yet,
there.
but I've heard that after this one, they go very sharp downhill slope.
Hmm. Okay.
So I don't know. I'll see. This I was very happy to find. This one I got from that guy I told you he had like the obscure stuff. The Incredible Shrinking Man,
Oh, cool. Like the original?
1950. Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Nice short, like 80 something minute monster movie. I really like this one. I remember seeing it when I was a kid. It left a big impression on me. I had forgotten quite a bit of it on rewatching it, but very glad. One of the things that I absolutely love about movies where people shrink down
Hmm.
is the oversized props.
Yeah.
And there are so many great oversized props in this movie.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for movies that do that and even video games that do that. I just love
Yes,
seeing
yes,
little people in a big world, you know. Honey, I
yes.
Shrunk the
I'd
Kids,
say
all that stuff.
this and Honey I Shrunk the Kids seem to be the best of the best for those. I mean, you get to stuff like Ant Man, and of course it's all CG and
Hmm.
stuff now. But back when they had,
Props.
oversized nails
Yeah,
and
yeah.
matchsticks. There's one point, I'm going to spoil one thing. There's one point where he finds a match, like a strike anywhere match, and he actually drags it across the ground, and I guess they had it rigged up so that it would fire up.
Wow.
It looks great. It's wonderful. This I had never seen, but I was curious. I remember hearing about it when I went to. Oh, I got it right here. When I went to get my copy of If Chins
Oh,
Could Kill
yeah.
signed, somebody in the audience said, "Hey, what's the name of that horrible movie you did where you played Elvis fighting a mummy?"
Bubba Hotep.
Bubba Hotep.
Yeah. I
Finally got
think
a
I have that.
copy.
Nice.
Watched it. It's not very good.
I haven't watched I watched it when it first came out. I can't remember a thing about it.
Yeah, it's really not very good. I was a bit disappointed. I
Mm.
mean, Bruce Campbell does his best to be entertaining, but the story, the filmmaking is just not there.
Great name though. I love that name, Bubba Hotep.
Bubba Hotep. Yeah, they have their fun with it, but I don't know. Some of the effects, as soon as I saw, like, there's like a little Garib like crawling along the wall, and it's
Oh.
just like a rubber spider being pulled around. It's like, you got to shoot that a little bit more creatively. Apparently, though, I I remembered this specifically when I went to the signing, and somebody stood up and said, "Hey, how about that movie?" And then in looking up stuff on this, it says that Bruce Campbell brought stuff with this about this movie on his tour promoting his book in order to promote the movie. So now I'm wondering if that guy who asked the question was a plant.
Plant? Yeah, it could have been because
Yeah,
that was the movie he was kind of promoting at the time.
right.
So
He might have like one of his people just be there, bring it up.
yeah,
And basically his answer to the question was, because someone asked, like, "What's the name of that movie you did?" And he's like, "Oh, you mean Bubba Hotep? That's the movie where I play Elvis." And he basically describes the movie.
well, there you
So
go.
little
Little
phoniness.
embedded advertisement, as we would
Oh
say in
wow,
the
you got a
biz.
fancy name for it.
That's what we called it in the biz. Embedded advertisement.
Okay.
That it's like the Wayne's World thing, with the Pepsi and the
Oh
Pizza Hut.
yeah. The
That's
greatest.
embedded advertisement. Yeah.
That's the greatest product placement in any film ever.
Product placement. Yeah, that's the more common term for it. But yeah.
Embedded advertisement. I'll
Yeah.
remember that. I also got a copy of the original Piranha,
Oh, I still
the
have
Joe
to see that.
Dante film. Well, you saw the Double D
I did. I saw the double
version,
D's. Yes,
right?
I saw the double D's, and they were, well. Normally, double D's are good, but these double D's were not very good, in my opinion.
Yeah, so I was able to get the original, and it's a not a great movie, not a great script, but it is a good example of how a creative director can take a not so great idea and really make the most of it,
Mm,
because really it is all about the choice of shots and the way they shoot the fish and everything, and it's like, okay, you didn't have much to work with, but you did a good job with it. So kind of fun. These next two are the ones I was really excited about. I finally was able to get a copy of Assault on Precinct 13,
oh, cool. The
the
original?
original,
Yeah.
and it is the rental copy.
Nice.
But this seems to be very hard to track down. So I saw it on there. It's like, ooh, I gotta get that. And it's a DVD, but at least it's a digital remaster DVD, so it looked a little bit nicer.
And what'd you think
Boy,
of
I
that?
love that scene. Oh, I love this movie. I love
Yeah.
this movie so much. And I was waiting for it. There's when they're waiting for the gangs to start coming through the window, and there's all the gunplay, and they're shooting, and the one guy, the convict, the anybody got a smoke guy.
Hmm? Yep.
They- there's one point they're waiting. They got like a locked case, and there's a shotgun in there, but they can't get it open. They're breaking down the door. He's like, "Give me a gun! Give me a gun!" They finally throw him the shotgun, and it's like three quick blasts. He's like, "Bam!" and just start taking people out. And then it's just a whole series of them shooting people coming through windows.
Yeah. That was a good
Great.
one. Stay away from the remake. It's not very good.
Generally, that's a very good idea. Now, last time I got one more here, and this is the one that I mentioned, I teased you with, saying I ordered something fantastic.
All right.
I would something that might be common in your area, but over here, never see it. Ooh, oh gosh, the only problem is the disc is loose in here. Oh, let me fix that. Hey, I've been trying to get this for a while.
Oh
Ernest
my
goes to
goodness.
camp, Ernest scared stupid, and Ernest goes to jail. Nice
Wow.
triple feature.
Wow. It's a lot of earnest.
Oh yeah, I've found this on Amazon a few times, but it's one of those things where they just mark it up and it's like $80. You're like,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. So somebody had a copy of this. They were willing to sell it, and it's It's mine now. But the only problem, yeah, like I said, the disc inside is kind of loose, so I don't know if you see, but it's pretty scratched up.
Well, that
But it does work.
happens when, usually when the disc is loose in there because it just rubs
It
up against
starts
it.
bouncing around and
Yeah.
starts rubbing.
And
And
so, is it all
I think
three
I got this a little. It's all three.
on the
There's
one oh,
one of them has two
okay.
on the disc, and I think the seller wasn't aware of that because in the description it said, it's these three movies, but it said it's got Ernest Goes to Camp, Ernest Scared Stupid, but there's no Ernest Goes to Jail.
Mm.
And then part of me was like, well, I do have Ernest Goes to Jail on Blu-ray, so I don't really care about that. But they showed a picture of the inside like this, and I'm like, it's right there.
Yeah,
What
people
do you
don't know
mean
what they
there's no?
have. They don't know what they
So it's like, did they just somehow see two discs but
have.
not
Probably.
read them? I don't know.
Probably.
Anywho, I got that, and I immediately watched Ernest Goes to Camp because I haven't seen that in a very long time,
Me neither.
and it's an Ernest movie.
It's an Ernest movie. Yeah. Does
It's
it
an
hold
Ernest
up?
movie.
Does it hold up for Ernest? For an Ernest movie?
For Ernest, it absolutely holds up. I will say Ernest Goes to Jail might be the best of the Ernest movies.
Mm, okay.
Uh, Camp is still pretty fun. A Scared Stupid to me is not as good. I'm still missing Saves Christmas.
I have
That's
that one.
I do need that one. I do have some other Ernest movies. I've got like Ernest in the Army, um, Rides Again. The lesser
Hmm.
Ernest movies.
Yeah.
But there are still a couple that I haven't got my hands on. I believe he goes to Africa.
Probably.
Uh, there's a basketball one.
Yeah.
Slam Dunk Ernest. I don't have that one.
Yeah. If you ask Curtis, he'll tell you. I believe it has something to do with like the Ernest movies used to be made by a major studio, and then eventually they kind of got
Well, they were
truncated to a.
Touchstone, which
You're
is
right.
Disney.
Yeah.
When they don't want to put their name on it, they would put it out under Touchstone.
Right. And then eventually
But
it got
then,
to like a Canadian production company that wasn't like the most expensive budget thing.
I don't know.
Look at this. Deke saw Ernest Goes to Camp in the theater in the 80s.
The one thing I remember about Ernest Goes to Camp, this is an odd reference, but there was a sitcom called Empty Nest.
Yes. I remember it.
Where
With
the
Charlie.
main guy, Charlie.
Charlie was like the neighbor.
Yes.
I think he
Jim
was.
J. Bullock.
No, you're thinking of Too Close to Comfort.
Is that Too Close for Comfort?
Yeah.
Okay.
Empty Nest. What the heck was the guy's name?
The doctor, right?
Yeah.
He was a doctor, and he had a nurse named Laverne.
Yep.
And in one episode, he makes a joke where he says Laverne's favorite movie is Ernest Goes to Camp. And that's the only thing I remember about this show.
Why not? Sure. Empty Nest starred. Oh, what the heck was his name? It was a spinoff of the Golden Girls, and Richard Mulligan.
Oh wow! Okay, I was close. Yeah. I was thinking that his name was something like that.
That was the
yeah. I
do
guy. Remember Dr. Harry
Stone.
Something. No, that's Night Court. Dr. Harry something or other. And he had his two daughters living in his house, right?
Harry Weston.
Harry Weston. Okay.
Yeah. All of the actors from the Golden Girls made an appearance on the show. He was their neighbor on the Golden Girls. And it was
I remember him coming over.
Yeah. And it was a legit spin-off. Like he was on the show for quite a while, and then they actually spun it off to have it wasn't like one of those fake spin-offs. David Leisure played Charlie the neighbor.
David Leisure, who also did the did he do the Subaru commercials?
I'm a Canadian. I didn't get Subaru commercials in Canada. We're too good for Subaru up here.
Actually, David Leisure, Empty Nest, Subaru commercial.
He was also on Young and the Restless and Days of Our Lives. Roles in Sabrina the
Let me think
Teenage
about those
Witch.
soap operas.
Uh,
Oh, Isuzu. No, it was Isuzu, not
oh,
Subaru.
close enough. He was also in Airplane and Airplane 2. He was the
The
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Krishna in
Yes, yes,
Airplane.
yes.
Yeah,
That's right.
there you go.
Oh, it's fun making these connections. It really like exercises your brain. You got to pull those tidbits out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Anything else? Because I'm missing my
Um,
Subway Wolves right now. I'm 3
I don't
minutes
know.
into
I
the.
can tell you about movies I actually want. Well, I did watch
You
all
said
of
you watched them.
almost all of these. I watched Bubba Hotep, Day of the Dead, Freed. Yeah, you know what I watched for the first time? We mentioned it earlier. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Oh, well, that's
I
cool.
had seen the first two. I had never sat down and watched that one. It was one of those movies where it's just it's like 3 hours.
Yeah, it's a long one.
So I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
But did you find it like it was too long? Like that's one of those movies that are long, but I find that you know
No,
they
it
utilize.
was that movie has such great reveals.
Hmm.
Like they'll start a scene and you don't exactly know what's happening, but then some bit of information or a character, something is revealed, and it's done in such a great way. Like the very opening shot, you just see landscape and then whoop, a guy's head just like comes up in a frame and he's seeing these two guys come down. You don't know anything about them, but you know they're heading towards each other, heading towards each other, heading towards each other, and then suddenly they're working together.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, but then something else happens, and like you're introduced to a new character, and it was very, very well done. So I do believe I watched it in two sittings, but no, I didn't feel it was too long. I
I
was a little I was expecting a little bit more from the final confrontation because I know that scene. I've seen that, setup many times with the three guys
hmm
standing there.
Yeah.
So I was expecting a little bit more from the actual gunplay aspect of it, but still it was well done. It was all thought out nicely. I thought the whole scene in that cemetery of the one guy running around and
Yeah.
everything, picking all the things, very well done.
I also find that Sergio Leone gets great like faces in his movies. A lot of uh, uh, not animation, but like just how this like the faces look
Well,
and stuff. And
that's so much of it, and that's what bothers me when I see a movie that's very bland in the way it's shot. It's the reactions, the
yeah,
emotions,
yeah,
everything. Like an actor can really do very impressive things with just like the way they move their eyebrows or the way they hold their jaw or something. Look at Jack Nicholson. He's so good at that. Even though I think he's a weird guy,
yeah,
is just he has such great use of his face.
yeah. You sound like what's her name from Sunset Boulevard, where she was a silent film actress. And they would like, oh, can you remember your lines? She's like, lines? I don't need lines. I could say everything with just my eyes.
There you go.
Nora Desmond, that was her
hmm
name.
You know who
What
else is good at that?
Ernest? Oh yeah, Ernest is a whole different. There's one Sergio Leone movie called Once Upon a Time in the West, and it's got Henry Fonda in it, and he just
Mhm.
looks completely different than in any other movie he's in because he's got like the scruff and everything. They're just like right zoomed in on his face and his eyes and everything. It's just man, Sergio, like he just knew how to bring that out from actors. It's just
Mhm.
really really cool stuff.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like if you are looking at like the behind the scenes footage of them filming the scene, that second camera that's off just filming everything,
Yeah.
like you can't tell. It
No.
doesn't look like they're doing anything.
Yeah.
But then when you see the close up and you see all of what's going on in here, very impressive.
And no one has been able to duplicate that. No one else has been able to, hone in on that skill.
I know it's It's surprising when you see a movie that's just so bad.
Mm-hmm.
One of the movies I watched, it was my J. I finally watched Jurassic World.
Is that one of the ones with Chris Pratt or?
That was the first one with
Okay.
Chris Pratt, and that I don't know. Some of the parts of it were fine, but the characters, the script was just it was all over the place, and it's like how many millions and millions of dollars went into this movie, and they can't get it right of like what the character is supposed to be feeling. They've got these kids that go in there and they've all these different elements that don't make any sense. There's one kid who's when you first see him, he's like saying goodbye to his girlfriend, and then a couple of times in the movie, he's like looking at her picture or looking at other girls at the park, and nothing ever comes of that. It's like you could remove all of that, and there's no difference to the story. They talk about their parents getting divorced. That has no payoff of any kind. It's just like all these little things. You got to fix this stuff. Make a
Is
nice
that
movie.
in that movie? Do they bring back the old cast like the Ghostbusters, and you got too many characters? Or I know there
No,
is.
they do that in the third one.
Okay.
This is the only one of those I've seen.
Yeah.
But I know the third one they get back the original trio. I don't
All
know
right.
how much of a role
Spoiler
they
alert.
have, but I think everyone's seen these things by now.
Even I have no idea what happens with the Jurassic Park movies, but I knew that was happening. I'm like, yeah, that's the way they do these things now. Got to get the Gen X
Well, yeah.
crowd to bring the new crowd in, and the new crowd in needs characters that they can relate to. They can't relate to old man Bill Murray or old man Sam Neill, so they need, characters like Podcast in there. It's the way they do movies now.
Sure.
All right. Anything else before we wrap it up?
No, I think I'm good.
Now I missed the 10 minutes of my hockey game. Oh my God.
Uh-oh. What are you talking about? You don't care about hockey.
Care about my Sudbury Wolves. I got the bug now. Got the bug. But I'll have to tell you about that next time because we got to go. Thank you to everyone that was in the chat. We had Deke. We had Steven Eider. We had Duke. We had Mike Ladano. We had Rocket Sauce. And us. We were in the chat for a little bit. That's it. That's enough. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Fade right out. All right. Bye, everybody. You guys say goodbye before I hit end stream.
Oh, goodbye.
Yeah, you're the guy. All right.
Crash that plane.